Hello, everybody, and welcome to Athletic Definitions kickoff show for 2023. I see Lily already in the audience. Thank you for joining me. Everyone watching as well on Twitch and YouTube stream and on the replay, as well as a podcast. I hope you guys all had a Merry Fitness, Happy Holidays, and I wish you a very healthy new year because without health, you don't have nothing, in my opinion. Everything else, you can achieve it as long as you work hard and put in the work. And for that reason is the reason why I named this show Sweat and Success in 2023. It's that time of year where most of us talk about out with the old, in with the new, maybe clothing, belongings, going out, going through things. Some people may feel that it has some sort of negative energy, and so you throw it away to get rid of that energy. And then some people just like to start fresh from the beginning all times. It's the time of year where you make your resolutions. And I do have resolutions. I do have goals. I make them every year. And I do basically 3-year checks. 3-year checks, 3-month checks, see how they're going. I reevaluate them, what I'm doing, if I to achieve them or not achieve them. And one of the things when it comes to success is I think you really have to redefine what success is to you because it'll be so different to everybody. Getting ready for the show, I looked up and watched maybe 10 different talks on success from coaches to TED Talks. And everyone had different interpretations of what success is. Since I'm a big sports fitness guy, I started thinking of all the different athletes that I know of. And I think that most of us think that when you reach the big leagues, the pro levels, you're already successful. To others, it may not be success unless you win MVPs and championships. To others, it'll be financial success. And if you've been watching the NFL at all, with what recently happened with a Buffalo Bills player, we realize that walking off the field every day and being alive is success. So for that reason, I looked up the actual definition of success before uh, we get started and go a little bit deeper. But I do have goals, as I mentioned, and one of the goals for me is to do over 100 episodes this year of Athletic Definition. There's 52 Fridays this whole year, and so that means if I do a show every Friday, I'll still only get 52 shows. I typically do way more than that. And if one of my goals is to get 500 episodes out total, that's what Mr. Beast recommends. So that's what I'm going for. So the long goal is 500. And by the end of the year, right now on YouTube, I'm at 201 videos. So I would like to reach a little bit over 300. Follow along, subscribe, share, help me achieve that goal. The other one is it is official. I am now registered for Los Angeles Marathon 2023. I will be going for my 17th consecutive Los Angeles Marathon and my 50th total marathon. I would definitely like to thank Team Stride for Stride for making it happen. Without their support, my streak would not have continued last year or this year. So thank you, Team Stride for all your support. And then, as I was talking about, just the definition of success for everybody and how you really, really have to define it. Me being Mexican American, being first generation, I started and I contemplated because it's so easy to get caught up with the way that advertisement is just basically to make you feel like less if you don't have the newest thing or it's the new shiny object. So just looking at the accomplishments for me personally, just living and being every single day without going to jail. I looked up, it says Latinos make up 22% of the 2.3 million males in state or federal custody. This is from the Bureau of Justice, statistics from 2016. In California, where I live, Latino men are overrepresented in prison. They are 41% of the prison population, but only 38% of the state population. And then there's all the drugs. growing up, your teenage years, if you experiment, maybe your college years, and even then, drugs is a big thing. It actually has stopped a lot of pro athletes and ruined careers because drugs, especially since I am Mexican American, I looked up Latinos, Hispanics, and says 1.8 million Hispanics misused opioids in 2019, and that represents 3.7 of the population. Pain relievers, 1.7 million abused it. Heroin, 48,000, and both 33,000. It is estimated that 243,000 Hispanic Latinos attempt to take their own lives. That's two in every take their own lives. And then it says 4,500 Hispanic Latinos died by suicide in 2020. And so then I think about success. Is success just living? And that just all depends on where you grow up and how difficult it could be. Some people will have it easier, grow up in better neighborhoods. And so success will be different for everybody. If you want to achieve athletic performance goals, not that I've ever won an NBA championship or anything like that, but just from competing in jiu-jitsu, and I have one in that, and won a playoff game in some 3-on-3 tournament Nike, and completing 57 marathons. I I definitely feel that with sports, it's really difficult to define what success is. And especially if you're trying to compete or anything like that, we get so caught up with, I'm a failure if whatever you think of doesn't come true. And I love Inky Johnson. If you don't know who that is, he's a player who he grew up with nothing pretty much, and his dream was to take care of his family, and he was like one play away from being a top draft pick in the NFL. And he hit the guy so hard that he ended up losing his arm. So he doesn't have an arm. And he always talks about how dedicated are you to pursuing what you want once you don't get the outcome that you thought you were going to get. How dedicated are you to keep going, keep doing it when you don't get the outcome that you don't expect? And I have tried success is all about perspective. Some people will be like, oh, well, you have 57 marathons and you've never qualified for Boston. And that's true. But I've also had 57 marathons, which, what is it, like 0.001% of the world's population will ever complete one. To me, that's quite an accomplishment. To others, they'll just focus on the negative. And if you want to be happy, don't compare yourself to other people. Don't compare yourself to, oh, well, that person qualified for Boston, or this person got their blue belt before me, or this person got their brown belt before me, or anything like that. Because as they say, comparison is the thief of joy. And so, since I'm such a huge sports and fitness guy, there was a documentary 30 for 30 by ESPN, and it was broke. And I was talking about, some people think, oh, going in the big leagues, that's success, or making a lot of money. But according to the Sports Illustrated article in 2009, because it's an older documentary, but I highly recommend you check it out. It says that 60% of former NBA players are broke within 5 years of retirement. I think a lot of people would be like, making the NBA success. You're rich. You're just going to have a good life after that, right? It's easy sales. You can live off your investments. How many people aren't taught about investments, which is basically all of us? We're not taught that in school. And then since you don't know better and you've never had that type of money, a lot of people rip you off, and a lot of it's family. If you watch this documentary, it says that by the time that they are retired for 2 years, 78% of all former NFL players have gone bankrupt or on financial distress. sucked into bad investments, stalked by freeloaders, saddled with medical problems, and naturally prone to showing off, as many pro athletes get shocked by harsh economic realities after years of living the high life. And medical problems, one of the things, and I want to do a whole show about this because as technology gets better, a lot of pretty much a huge percentage of our money, our savings that we work so hard for, goes at end of our life to try to keep ourselves living longer by trying to take some sort of medication. And if you would like to avoid that, there's a really good high percentage. And in general, and by the way, this is not medical advice, but mostly everything is preventable through good exercise. So if you don't have to spend that money that you work so hard for all your life, if all you did was actually get some activity, and if the shoe doesn't fit, don't get offended, and if the shoe fits, don't get offended. Just, but think about in general how much you could actually. Why are you working so hard to save up money that you're going to end up spending on try to prolong your life with some sort of medication when all you had to do for depending on what you have, but if you look at the percentages of what people are dying from, which is heart disease and diabetes, those are definitely can be, I don't want to say 100% preventable, but just they could definitely be avoidable. And that's something to consider. I'm going to go do a whole show about that as well. The other thing, since I was thinking about sports and everything else, is boxing. I think a lot of us think, especially the heavyweight champion of the world in boxing, it has that stigma, well known. So in boxing, I think he's still alive. Don King, he's got to be maybe in his 90s if he's still alive. But Don King, famous boxing promoter, and he managed, and these following names besides him managing, uh, they all sued him: Muhammad Ali, Larry Holmes, Tim Witherspoon, Mike Tyson, Terry Norris, Lennox Lewis, Chris Bird. They all sued him because they ripped them off. And a lot of these, I saw a documentary on boxing, and a lot of these former boxers died completely broke and alone. And so you think success, the heavyweight champion of the world, Mike Tyson sued him for $60 million. That was like supposedly Don King's like best friend, and he ripped them off. I think even Julio Cesar Chavez, the boxing, ended up suing him as well, and it goes on and on. So you think, oh well, this person's a pro athlete. That's it. They got it made. If your whole goal is just to win a championship or win a Super Bowl or win your league tournament, and then that's it, overall, if you hear my shows, it's about balance. That's not going to make you happy. If you have heard Terry Bradshaw thinking about the emptiness and how disappointed he was after winning the Super Bowl, he went into a depression because it's not just about winning a Super Bowl. It's about being a balanced person. Were you there for your family? Were you there for your girlfriend? Were you there for your wife? Were you there for your husband? Were you there for your boyfriend? Were you there for your kids? Did you spend that time? You could have success with or without money. I feel that, just as I was mentioning, I should be the odds of me not being in jail or being in jail or getting hooked on drugs or doing anything like that, to me, that makes me successful. But to me, what makes me even more successful, in my opinion, is having a good family. You can't buy a good family. You can't buy people who support you. That's not something that money could buy. And as I mentioned, success will be different for everybody. And if they're fitness goals, I I love fitness goals or competition goals. And if you don't achieve them, it's okay, because they say goals aren't always meant to be achieved. They're just something to strive for. And also, if you've given up on your goal, they also say, which is one of my favorite quotes, I'm not quite sure who says it, dreams don't have an expiration date. So dust yourself up and keep going. And so, if you, in my opinion, and this is something I'm doing personally for myself, want to have a more successful year, it's really defining to yourself what is success to you, and how will you know when you get there, and how will it feel? Because the other thing that I mentioned earlier is, do not compare yourself to anybody, because you won't. That's just going to lead you to unhappiness, and that's no way to be successful. I want to leave with a couple quotes about success that I have here, and I thought they were pretty good. And it's, let's see here. Now my computer, Siri, helper, never performs the way I need her to. Okay, so success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. If you love what you're doing, you will be successful. And that is by Albert Schweitzer. Success is not an absence of failure, it is a persistence through failure. Aisha Taylor. And this last one here, I really like it. Success is not how high you have climbed, but how you make a positive difference to the world. Roy T. Beckett. And success to me is giving back to the world in a better way. And that is the whole purpose of Athletic Definition, to try and inspire and motivate people to live the world in a more positive way than we found it. When it's all said and done, I don't want to just be known as a consumer. I want to know someone who gave back. And when I help people work out or start working out or get in shape, to me, that's being able to help someone express their body, which is a beautiful thing, the human body expression. And every time I look at a different sport, I see, wow, man, it doesn't matter even if I don't do it. I could just tell that they've been doing years and years of discipline and working on technique to be able to achieve that. When the Olympics come around or World Cup, it's like, that these athletes have been working since they were kids, and you just see the technique, and I'm inspired by the capability of what the human body can do. And I think that everyone should experience it. There's a quote, I can't remember who it's by, uh, but he basically says that no man should live without knowing the true strength and beauty of what the human body is capable of. And I completely agree. The human body is capable of so much. And if you're blessed enough, just to be an average person with no super athletic ability, that's still great, because you can develop that into more as long as you work hard. And you could really just, as time goes on, have a better quality of life in general, because you're mobile. And as I mentioned, when it's all said and done, if you think about the health, the most people spend all their life savings on some medical expense, which is just trying to prolong their life. And if it's something that can be preventable, like heart disease and diabetes, then I would look into so many of my resources. And now there's no excuse. There's podcasts, there's YouTube, there's you can go get trainers, education yourself, hire a dietitian, a nutritionist, and meal plans and meal prepping, and on and on. There's so many options. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but you really need to focus on yourself to be successful this upcoming year. And don't compare yourself to other people. Oh, there's one last huge thing that I forgot to mention about success and what it's going to take, and that's failures. And I know a lot of people don't like to fail, and it's almost like a stigma here in the United States. We're so obsessed with being in control of everything, and if we don't reach what we wanted to reach by a certain time, then we think we're failures. And that's not the case. And I want to show that to everybody. And so last year was great. I achieved a lot, but the next show is going to be about my failures and the things that I didn't achieve and what I'm doing differently to achieve them. Because as I mentioned, failures don't have an expiration date. I'm sorry, not failures. That's a good one. Uh, Dreams don't have an expiration date. Goals don't have an expiration date. And I learned from my failures, and there's things that I tried that didn't work. And sometimes you may try something like, you know what, that's not even really so much for me. So I'm glad I tried it. But you won't know that unless you try it. And so many people are just embarrassed of looking dumb, especially as we get older. We don't want to try something new because we're worried about what other people are going to think. And when it comes down to it, it doesn't matter what other people think. So be sure to follow me on Fireside here to be alerted when the next show will be here. And it'll be, as I mentioned, about failures. Also, coming up this year, having some big guests. So be sure to tune in, and who knows what many more surprises lie ahead. So thank you everybody for joining me. I see Chris in the audience. Thank you. Chris is actually a creator here on Fireside, and I listened to him, and he was telling me about the football players where he goes and he works out, and even though he uses that mobile scooter, I'm inspired by him just trying. I find inspiration everywhere. They're not just pro athletes. To me, the little wins and the people that I would think like, oh, you know, I just love to see people attempt it. And as long as you try, in the long run, it's going to work out for you, because that's the way I see it. It's you could People are so just worried about failure, and trust me, I this podcast should be on like its 10th year, because I was worried about what people would think. This idea and everything else, yeah, has been looming forever, but I was so worried and consumed by what other people would think, and I just didn't do it. Well, that is not that easy. It takes up a lot of time and everything else, but most of it was just concern, and the people who don't like it don't have to watch. But I see reaching what, over 70 countries now, and all 50 states, that there's people that like it. And for those that like it, thank you for your support. And once again, thank you everybody for joining me. This has been Coach Ray Z on Athletic Definition, live here on Fireside. And I will be next time here telling you about my failures. That some will be sports related and some will be